Morning, colleagues. It's lovely to see many old friends and new friends, and welcome to UNEP. Firstly, I want to take the opportunity to thank our partner, if I pronounce your name, Laurenti. Okay. The director of City Diplomacy Lab. So we are very happy to have a chance to partner together for long, but particularly we are having this series of webinars to discuss the cities and regions role on climate. As we all know, COP30's focus was imitation. We obviously don't have to revisit what we achieved there, what we didn't. But at least for cities and regions, we are very happy to see some progress. The role of cities and regions was further enhanced, I would say that before and during COP. Particularly, there was a massive local leaders summit in Rio before, and I understand that we agreed to involve our city leaders and regional leaders more to the decision makings on global climate governance, which is and of course the final result of the COP30 also mentioned the cities and regions a few times, and I personally been working on cities for very long. This is my favorite topic, I have to say. When I was working with WWF in Beijing, I was leading. I actually launched we call low carbon city initiative in the year 2007. It was quite an interesting experience I have to share, because back to 2007, most of the policymakers in China, they feel climate is a conspiracy from the West. So we launched this, first ever low carbon city initiative in China. We had two very different type of cities. One is Shanghai. We all know over 20 million people there. They have a lot of emission from industry, building, transport, etc. We also identified another cities a little bit south of Beijing, just like 1 or 2, I think 150 kilometers south of Beijing. It's a very normal medium-sized city in China. Most people don't know, called Baoding, but they have like 1 million people in the urban area. They have 27 counties, all managed by the mayor in the rural area. Altogether, they have 13 million. So we started there from promoting renewable industries. Very interesting. Many people said, "Oh, the WWF is doing the wrong thing. It's not right. Renewable industry is not part of a low carbon city story." But I said that's a major labor we had, and because the city have strong interest back then, they had the largest solar PV manufacturer in the world. Unfortunately, 2 years later, they died, and that was a story. I can tell more later to show the real competition market. That's a major driver of the Chinese success on the renewable industries, not the subsidies. Subsidy plays some role, but the major reason is anyway. So the city had a strong interest to work with us. At the same time, they also developed the first ever city low carbon action plan in China. They set a very ambitious target to reduce the carbon emission from the key sectors in the city. And then we organized as WWF. You can imagine we organized some international exchange, particularly with a few Danish cities, and we also put Shanghai as one of the I referred to the Earth Hour launched by WWF, which is really turn off the light in one day in March for 1 hour to just raise the awareness, etc. So what I try to say is, while we generally arguing cities account for 70% of emission, cities should be the key implementer for climate actions. But if you look at the real actions on the ground in different kind of cities and regions, we need to identify the very tailored message, projects, financing model, etc. There's no one fit for all solutions. That's the beauty of working with cities. Obviously, different country cities have different, apologies, colleagues, for the interruption, because I said that maybe one reason we were talking about the AI is not functioning as we've been expecting, huh? But at the same time, I doubt the AI technology has been properly used here. Even we don't have really much resources. I was talking about finance. Just see a few examples. We've been partnering with many of you, we try to broaden the subnational investment pipelines through different sectors and approaches, such as integrated local financing frameworks, country platforms, green bonds, well-designed equity guarantees, such as green guarantee fund, CG Finance Commission, etc. There are many good examples. So I also want to thank many of our partners. We've been working with you. The Green City Partnership, you Habitat, the local 2030 coalitions, which others. Urban Shift with Equally for the WA, SDS in Global Commission for Urban SDG Finance, as just mentioned, and also many other coalition networks. So we want to. Okay, good. So we will continue to work with you on this very important cities and regions agenda. One thing we are organizing is actually this Friday in Nairobi, right before UNEA 7. We will have this cities and regions summit in Nairobi. So for any of you who are traveling to Nairobi, you're welcome to join in person. For colleagues, you have interest. I think we also provide online, access to the event. So anything you have interest, please, get in touch with UNEP colleagues. And I think that's probably something I want to say. As I mentioned, the cities deserve more support and more attention, more resources, from many of us. So we look forward to working with all of you to further promote this very important agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lei. It's really my turn now to thank you and UNEP for the hospitality and the collaboration in organizing this event. And to thank, of course, all our esteemed speakers in the room and online, as well as our public. My name is Lorenzo Giglio-Grandi, as Mr. Lei kindly said, and I work as the director of the City Diplomacy Lab. And as the inspiring word from Mr. Lei mentioned, cities really are emerging as important actors. They have a role and responsibility, and they are a platform for implementation, as you rightly said. And of course, we are taking as a framework the recently concluded COP30, where we have seen that the cities have been present not only in the halls, thanks to the support and coordination of some of the actors that are present both in the room and online, but we have found cities also in the instruments, in the consequences that have been approved in the framework of COP30, such as the fourth ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change, or the multi-round decision, which explicitly welcomes the efforts of cities and other subnational authorities in multi-level climate action. And I think we should not be surprised, of course, cities have expanded their international role in the framework of climate action. However, their expectations sometimes have only been partially met. It might be the case in Belém. And I think that still the multilateral perspective, which features the involvement of cities, really it's the strongest of all incentives to go towards a joint collaboration for the future of humanity, and even in a complex geopolitical setting such as the one we are living now. Ultimately, I really think that today we will have a lot of reflection on foresight, responsibility, the determination of different levels of actors to work together meaningfully in a coordinated and collaborative global effort. Our program today features two different roundtables with key actors and representatives of the multi-level climate action. And we will close with a Q&A, a couple of recommendations. Online participants, they are invited to send their questions through the Q&A box, and we will go through as many as possible at the end of the event. And for those in the room, I wanted to inform you that there are microphones all across the hall. So I would kindly invite you to please remain silent until I invite you to take the floor so that we can maintain the audio quality for the hybrid audience. And so without further ado, I would like now to move to the panel one entitled Key Insights from International Actors Involved in Urban Sustainability Discussions. And we have a lineup of international and national actors that have distinguished themselves for the commitment with which they pursue climate objectives. And I will briefly introduce them. We have Mr. Bernard Bart, Program Coordinator at UN Habitat. Mr. Bart leads the agency's Global Climate and Environmental Program and supports cities in integrating climate action into planning and nationally determined contributions. Yunus Arikan, the Director of Global Advocacy at ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, and focal point of the local governments and municipal authorities constituencies, LGMA, to the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change. We have here with us in the room Ms. Hélène Chartier, Director of Urban Planning and Design at C40 Cities. She leads efforts to help cities accelerate the adoption of sustainable and resilient urban planning policies, design practices, and low-carbon built environment solutions. We have Delphine Leduc, Task Team Leader at the Local Authorities and Urban Development Division at AFD, Agence Française de Développement, French Development Agency. She leads AFD engagement with local authorities on climate-relevant urban development projects. And last but not least, Kali Jushkin, Advisor of the Regional Development Department at the Ministry of Regional Affairs and Agriculture. Ms. Jushkin works on regional development, territorial cohesion, urban policy, and European territorial cooperation. A wonderful lineup, of course, to dig into this complex and timely issue. And I would like to start from our participant reaching us online from UN Habitat, Mr. Barth. So, Bernard, how can the momentum from COP30 be directed into practical steps that support cities' goal and ensure their commitment fits within a multi-level governance framework?
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. And given the technical issues, can you give me a sign that you can hear me clearly? Oh, many thumbs up. Wonderful. Thanks very much. And thank you, of course, also to UNEP and the City Diplomacy Lab for convening us today. I think the timing is perfect between COP30 and the Cities and Regions Summit of UNEA. Also, of course, very happy to share the panel with Hélène and Yunus, UN Habitat, and C40. Of course, ICLEI and LGMA have really grown further together in jointly advancing the multi-level climate action agenda at COP. And so I think this is a partnership that we can discuss and build on in the conversation today. Also very happy to have two representatives of national government on this panel. We've had many intersecting conversations, but I think there is scope for a much more integrated conversation between the city networks, the support organizations, UN Habitat, UNEP, and national government. So I think, again, today's meeting can hopefully advance this. Maybe let me acknowledge that the multi-level and urban agendas were not anchored in the COP process to the extent many of us had hoped. I think we've heard already a little bit on this, but I think for us it is critically important to also acknowledge the shortfalls, learn from them to chart the way forward. But we are exactly here for that, to discuss how we can move forward. I think there are quite a few entry points that have come out of COP that really should help us in doing so. I think colleagues from the panel will probably talk about CHEMP, the mobilization of subnational and national governments. So I will not go deeply into this for time's sake, but not because this is not important. In fact, this is really critical in terms of the partnerships that I've also earlier mentioned. For UN Habitat, one particular entry point is the snapshot of the urban content of the NDCs that we've published at COP. We have analyzed the NDCs until the 15th of October 2025, those that have been published until then. And I think the good news is that strong urban content has doubled. So I think in terms of multi-level climate action between local and national level, a lot is going in the right direction. And of course, we look very much forward to work across the UN as well as with the CHEMP partners and others in terms of further advancing this. The IPCC special report on climate change in cities also contains strong messages on urban climate action and multi-level governance, and really provides us with a whole host of technical but also governance solutions accordingly. So from UN Habitat's perspective, this will be a priority going into 2026 with the World Urban Forum 13 looking very much into this. And then in June next year, we have the Innovate for Cities conference, which also hopefully connects that science, policy and action agenda that is needed for advancing local climate change. Then there are also many specific opportunities stemming from COP, the outcomes of the fourth ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change, along with the outcomes of the local leaders forum and the LGMA positions were embraced by many parties. We are exploring now many avenues to engage with UN member states towards the implementation of those COP30 outcomes, but then also developing a strategy towards COP31 and 32. And then just very briefly, I think there are many other opportunities to build on. Azerbaijan and Brazil have proposed now to utilize the Baku Continuity Coalition to move forward more actively and strategically, including by inviting Australia, Ethiopia, and Turkey in their roles in the two upcoming COPs, and through that partnership to facilitate stronger multi-level climate action. In terms of the negotiated text, we have also the global goal on adaptation with the human settlements and infrastructure indicators, and developing the metadata, I think, is another great opportunity to advance our agenda. The fossil fuel phase out also has very strong ambitions toward multi-level action. again, an opportunity. Adaptation finance has been tripled, at least in terms of the commitment. The mitigation work program entails opportunities for stronger engagement. And the Loss and Damage Fund very specifically, for example, mentions UN Habitat, but also, of course, has been set up with local subnational actors in mind. So we're looking forward to partner with many of you in terms of advancing, again, our agenda. The action agenda around Axis 4, many of us are involved in this. I'm sure many of the other speakers will explore opportunities on how to leverage those for our partnership. So UN Habitat very much committed to take this conversation forward. Very much looking forward to today's conversation, and then, of course, also on Friday here in Nairobi, where I look forward to seeing many of you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Bernard. We can see that there is an ample spectrum of activities emerging from UN Habitat. You are sustaining the momentum with tools, initiatives, and as you said, we're going in the right direction. And this, of course, requires a strong commitment for all of us. And that's very, very energizing. Thanks so much also for respecting the time. I should mention that we have a total of 12 speakers today. So I very much invite everyone to follow your example and stick to 5 minutes presentations. And it's now my pleasure to leave the floor to Yunus Arikan from ICLEI and LGMA. Yunus, drawing from your experience in Belém, ICLEI and the LGMA constituency's position, of course, how can cities collectively move from political recognition to institutionalized influence in national and international climate processes, especially for less resource municipalities?
Thank you, Lorenzo. Greetings to all colleagues in Paris and all online. I also would like to commend UN Environment Program. Mr. Lay's introduction was really nicely setting the scene. And as ICLEI, we are proud to be a partner of UN Environment Program since inception of ICLEI. OECD and UNEP was the two founding fathers or mothers of ICLEI in 1990. And with City Diplomacy Lab, it's also a great pleasure to join these efforts. Indeed, this is a very timely effort. So let me take this issue from the engagement at the constituency level. Are you able to hear me? I'm seeing that there may be some problems.
It works.
Do you hear me? Can you confirm?
Yes, we
now?
can. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
We can hear you. Thank you.
So, thank you. Sorry for that. So my introduction or my input to the discussion is our engagement as a constituency. How we engage in this UN process is, in fact, the engagement of local and subnational governments in the Rio Conventions, in the multilateral environmental agreements, is getting into a new era for a number of reasons as we are entering into this, not just only in Paris Agreement, the second phase, but also within the UN 80 reforms, the 33 years later, the Paris Agreement. So ICLEI has been the focal point of the constituency, the LGMA, the voice of towns, cities, regions, states since 95, the first COP1. This may not be so obvious to everyone, but in fact, we were enjoying the legacy of the Earth Summit, where major groups were recognized as the partners of the processes, and one of the 9 major groups is local authorities. It was acknowledged in 1992, but unfortunately, the process in the Rio Conventions was not as easy as the Agenda 21. Those who may remember, local Agenda 21 has managed to take the sustainable development to a new height over these 20 years, and with the SDGs now we are going forward. But in the negotiations in the multilateral environmental agreement, it was not easy. I will not touch upon how we have advanced in the biodiversity, desertification, others, but on the climate space, I remember when Mr. Ley was thinking or talking about climate was a conspiracy theory for some time back in 2017. It was not, I believe, not it was applying for many countries, for many national governments. The discussion of climate and cities was a taboo until 2009 or so. In fact, this was one of the reasons why climate debate is so difficult. It is one of the most politicized, one of the most complex processes. The fact that after Copenhagen, where we managed to make sure that we can be a partner and that it is whole of government approach was acknowledged in the Paris Agreement. And 10 years later, when we came to Belém, this time we said that, okay, how we approach this? Every year we develop our position papers as LGMA, specific agendas. This year we said that we will be active at home before going to Belém, that at the NDCs. We will be active in Belém. That was the negotiations and the outcomes, and we will be watching and engaging beyond Belém. That is one of the reasons why this COP was so important, because the success of Belém is not just what is achieved or not achieved in Belém, but the process under the COP30 presidency will be extremely important. So when we discuss how LGMA said that, okay, at home, in and beyond Belém, we try to formulate our engagement on those three main elements. So first of all, our engagement at Belém was in three folds that could be described: strategic, diverse, and high level. Strategic in the sense that we know these UN processes take time. I mean, imagine, Bernard, we were celebrating in Sharm el-Sheikh when we had the first urban and climate ministerial, but the first idea when LGMS was speaking about to have ministers of urbanization to be coming to the climate space was back in 2013. So it was 10 years work to achieve such a process. So we were aware that strategically we have to approach to Belém because of all these ingredients. And there we said that it is not just here and there some outcomes. We wanted to make sure that we have a strong foundation. Strong foundation for at least a 2 years perspective. Why? Because as you have heard from Bernard, we are expecting an important process from IPCC. The real decision making in UNFCCC is based to the scientific documentation from IPCC, and once in a generational opportunity we have a scientific report coming up. It's the first special report of AR7, and if this report was not in the making, our engagement would be different. But there's also reality that not all the IPCC report is reflected into the processes. So we wanted to make sure that in Belém, the country where climate federalism is embedded into their NDC, could be a strong foundational perspective. And in that sense, we want to make sure that we embed the concept of multi-level and urban as a standalone item to be discussed towards COP32 when IPCC report will be prepared. Luckily, it is announced that the host is Ethiopia, Africa. The continent which pushed for IPCC will be hosting the COP32. So why it was strategic? Because we know the next COP presidencies, Australia, Turkey, Ethiopia will all be endorsers of CHAMP, but they may not be as powerful as Brazil. So we wanted to make sure that we could get maximum out of Brazil's leadership, and especially that Brazil takes this forward in a more meaningful way once Belém is over. So the second way we wanted to approach is that high level, as you said, in the sense that we had really mobilized our leaders from Rio to Belém. In Belém, we met the UN Secretary General, President Lula, André Delago has, in their first sentences, they mentioned about local and subnational engagement. And we wanted to make sure that our presence is a follow-up. And the third is diversity, in the sense that we have technical position papers, we had political leaders, and we have the ministers of cities under the Minister of Cities of Brazil had mobilized that we had multiplied entry doors. So what ended up? So in my conclusion, I think there are assessments of whether it was a failure or disappointment. I think the first important point is that this COP has completed, and now there is a mandate to Andre del Lago to deliver its mandate. In the Muchirao decision, the sentence, it says cities and other subnational governments in multi-level climate action. It may be very simple for many, but in fact, it combines the Dubai decision and Paris Agreement text. And in diplomacy, every word, every comma, every hyphen even is meaningful. So we believe this is an important achievement. Now it's time for us to build upon it. Build upon it in the sense that, let's be realistic. The multi-level collaboration is not just limited to climate. It is a challenge in UNEP, in UN Habitat, in SDGs. So we believe it will be a multiple fronts that we will run from now until Ethiopia. This means that the term multi-level climate action is becoming more and more evident. But it is not just multi-level climate action, but it is also urban climate action. You have heard from my colleague Bernard that there are increasing recognition of urban components, but it is also the case that, especially in the global south, the urbanization is not always driven by the local and regional governments of today's. The future climate and urban development is primarily also in the hands of national governments. So we have to combine, we have to approach this issue as the two sides of the same coin. So after this Belém, we are committed that with Turkey, Australia, and Ethiopia, we want to build a bridge, a kind of a 2 years framework. We want to make sure the outcome, especially with Andre del Lago, will be reflected, but we will not stop and sit only for watching the UN processes, especially countries who have put their NDCs in a multi-level context. We want to demonstrate them. We want them to demonstrate that the results are concrete and that there's a benefit, and that in this new era of implementation, we will make sure that the legacy from Belém will prevail. And I think this is where the UN agencies and all the partners are needed, so that we help the presidency, primarily Brazilian presidency, but also work together with all the local and regional governments forward. Thank you very much. I think it's an opportunity that we all have a debate on that. Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you very much, Yunus. It's really exciting to see how multi-level and urban climate action, as you mentioned, is unfolding, and the input and leadership of cities in this movement. It's now my pleasure to turn to Hélène Chartier from C40. So Hélène, C40's assessment of COP30 highlights both progress and shortcomings, of course. From your perspective, what evolution of the current multi-level dialogue and collaboration framework is needed to advance climate ambitions in the post-COP30 context? With, of course, a kind request to stick to 5 minutes, please.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm not going to repeat what the other speaker before me said, because I think we aligned. And I think on the positive outcome to see more and more the cities and the other level of government being more and more involved, I think we need to also recognize that our joint effort and coordinated effort between our different organizations has been successful. And I think we are all going in the same direction and in a very positive way. So thank you very much for today, but for all of the past and everything. So that's very positive, even if there is a form also of a disappointment of some element. On cities, we know why this is working better, I would say. I think we share the same information. For example, at C40, we know that 3/4 of our cities are delivering much faster their climate agenda compared to their national government, and reducing their GHG emission, which is very important, more than their national government. We know why it's worked. It's worked because the government are more stable, more progressive when it comes to climate change, because they have this form of very operational capacity to make things on the ground and everything. And they have also, and I think it was very important, the local leader forum, they have also a form of inspiration. They show things on the ground, and they can show inspiration. We also, and I think that's something for us, we were quite happy about the the positive outcome of the local leader forum, and a lot of you were there, and we wanted these to be really collaborative in everything and every decision that we were doing and everything. It's also because it's a different type of multilateralism, and we need to see the difference between the multilateralism between cities and also between states. The fact that we don't try to align always, and we are not in this vision to sometimes that lead to a form of least common denominator, but in the opposite, trying to push to a minimum. At least that's the way we are working at C40. There is a minimum leadership standard, otherwise they don't receive support, they are not part of the work we are doing. But we also create a form of knowledge sharing and a form of we empower them to accelerate their action. And I think that's the most important. And I think we saw that through our leadership standard, but also through for example, the accelerator and other form of climate action that we are organizing. So cities, I think, and local government, they have a clear agenda. They know now what they need to deliver on the ground. But now we are really in the phase of implementation and mainstreaming, and we are really working with them on these, and they need to commit and to share their information and report their progress on that. If I talk to the field, I know more. For example, it's now mandatory for all of the C40 cities and a lot of cities that are also close to C40 to report and progress on how they will embed climate action in their master plan, in their legally binding urban planning policies. It's mandatory for them to implement a climate budgeting and every approach and everything. So it's concrete. And it's something they will report and they commit to report. It's also very important, and at least at C40, it's something important because we know it's only 100 cities to inspire, and I was mentioning before, and that's why the partnership with other organizations, with your organization, was very important. We are, if I can, working more closely with GCOM, for example, and it's becoming a very important, but also through specific projects with UNHabitat, UNEP, and ICLE, of course, on these. And we also try to share the progress cities are doing to show how they have done, what the problems they face and everything. So we have, for example, a knowledge hub that I think became a very important platform for cities, not only C40 cities, but all of cities around the world about, where you start, what we want to implement. So this is very important. On the multi-level coordination, and I think the other speaker mentioned that before, we know it's important. You cannot progress without a coordination between on urban planning, on urbanization. If you want to tackle urban sprawl, if you want to work on this very concrete project, you need a joint effort between the cities who have the rule for most of them on their planning and everything, but at the same time, without working with the metropolitan area, the regional area, the national government, you will fail. So all of these being able to align commitments and identify who is doing what to advance on this agenda is very important. And we have concrete projects, Julia is here and Gunnar as well. For example, IKI and the project we are doing with Brazilian city to accelerate climate water safe cities. It's a really collaboration between central city, metropolitan governance and national government to see which how we can accelerate. And I think that's working through very concrete project is very important. There is two things I wanted to say before closing that. I think, building on what we all say, I think there is still a topic which is really the finance, and making sure that the finance is going to the one who are delivering. And in that sense, to cities, and especially cities who are showing commitments and effort and who are needed, of course, the most. I think that's something very important in our progress and everything. Another positive side, I think, is the just transition approach. The fact that in this COP, and that's something C40 we have been, with many of you as well, pushing for a long time, that climate without inclusion, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. And in practice, it means really making sure that the effort we are doing as organizations should, especially on adaptation, should be more importantly focused on the most vulnerable, but also making sure that there is no side effect in our mitigation for the most vulnerable. And just to finish, I think what was very positive in the local leader forum for all of our organization is the fact that I think the connection between also funders, national government, philanthropists, and cities were very free. And there was really a very interesting momentum, I feel, between cities and these partners that are absolutely key partners to accelerate the delivery. Was very free, and everyone, finished a little bit reboost with this, and I think it was very important. So
thank you very much, Helene, for your contribution. We can see we're going the same direction: knowledge sharing, empowerment for concrete implementation, the role of finance, just transition. Very, very important elements to feed our conversation. Thank you so much. I would like now to leave the floor to Delphine Leduc from AFD. Delphine, from your perspective, the perspective, of course, of a development finance institution, what concrete mechanisms are most needed now to translate COP30 ambition into reality and ensure that municipal climate projects become more predictable, fundable, and ready for investment? You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you for convening me to attend this event. Just a little check. Can you hear me well? Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So I will try to stick to 5 minutes, and thank you to my colleagues because we had some very insightful introduction. I tried not to be redundant, but let me start with something simple. At Agence Française de Développement, we see cities as essential actors to deliver the climate agenda. Why? Because they concentrate most of the world's population, most of the infrastructure needs, and most of the exposure to climate risk. And our approach rests on 3 key principles. First, we try to improve quality of life for urban residents. Then we support climate-aligned development at the scale of territories. And then we try to empower local governments who are the ones implementing change on the ground. And let me recall that AFD has been the first international donor to be 100% aligned with the Paris Agreement. It means that all our financing needs to be aligned with this agreement and to demonstrate some strong climate co-benefits. And to make this possible, we work with a set of dedicated financing tools and facilities that help cities integrate climate into their policies and investment. Let me quote one of them because I can't be exhaustive, but we have the CICLIA Technical Assistance Facility, an EU-funded facility that turns cities' climate plans into bankable projects. We also have the Covenant of Mayors in Sub-Saharan Africa. We have the Program for Energy Efficiency in Buildings, promoting large-scale energy-efficient construction. And finally, we have the Sustainable Housing Initiative, which supports affordable but also sustainable housing in the formulation of housing policies. And this long-standing commitment in climate explain why AFD has progressively built a whole ecosystem of instruments for cities. Over the past 10 years, we've supported around 50 coastal cities, working with them on the adaptation and mitigation. And through the CICLIA facility, we've been supporting nearly 50 African cities, generating close to 1 billion euro in leveraged instruments. So now what COP30 changed? I think the text, the multi-rang text that has been adopted by more than 194 countries, makes one thing unmistakable. The climate transition is irreversible, and it will shape our future. And this is more than symbolic. It is a political signal with direct operational consequences. And what we saw in Belém was striking. Those who are acting, public development banks, cities, civil societies, local governments are now taking the lead. And they show that climate ambition is no longer about declaration, it is about implementation. For AFD, this marks a real shift. Development banks are coordinating more closely, aligning tools, pooling resources, and delivering together. And importantly, there is now broad recognition of the central role of international finance and the need for finance that can transform not only projects, but systems. And I would like to illustrate the kind of intervention that we'd like to support. And I will do a link with Brazil, because I'm quite familiar with this area. AFD has been partnering with Brazilian cities for more than 15 years. So it's a long, trusted collaboration built around a shared ambition for resilient, inclusive, and sustainable urban development. In Brazil, every intervention that we finance contribute directly to mitigation or adaptation. And this has led to very concrete results. For instance, in the city of Curitiba, we financed a project, the Cachimba Resilience Project, that aimed to resettle more than 1,000 vulnerable households in a sustainable area. And through this program, we restore degraded wetlands along the Barriga River through nature-based solutions. And finally, we transform a high-risk area into a resilient ecological corridor. This intervention combines both environmental restoration and social inclusion, and it works very well. And I fully agree with what Hélène said earlier, that climate transition needs to be supported, but also a strong social inclusion. And now we are moving to the next scale with the city of Curitiba, because in next year we will provide a 100 million euro loan to the city to implement its new climate adaptation plan, scaling up nature-based solutions, investing in flood prevention, and strengthening long-term resilience. For us, this marks a new phase, supporting system-wide climate transformation in cities that are ready to lead. So what comes next after COP30? For us, the answer is quite clear. We need to turn this momentum into implementation. And looking ahead, we see cities as critical actors for accelerating both adaptation and low carbon transition. And we are determined to go further, not only through sovereign, non-sovereign financing, but also by supporting public development banks as part of the fixed agenda, and by developing innovative instruments such as guarantees, so that more financial flows can reach cities. And of course, AFD will continue to work closely with cities, national governments, and all our partners on the ground to accelerate this transition. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Delphine. We have a clear view of the plurality of traditional and innovative tools that AFD have put in place, of course, to support this irreversible climate transition, as you mentioned, and the need, of course, to shift towards implementation. Thank you so much. And now, last but not least, in our first panel, it's my pleasure to give the floor to Ms. Kali Jushkin from Estonia. So Kali, what is your take of the post-COP30 scenario and your recommendation for the multi-level path ahead?
So thank you. So in Estonia, we see that multi-level governance is an essential tool to implement our climate goals. So in our context, it means cooperation with the local governments. We do not have a regional level. And we have stated also in our National Energy and Climate Plan and the Green Transition Action Plan, which are our major climate policy documents, that collaboration with the local governments is essential in implementing, especially implementing the climate-friendly solutions. And what we have done so far is that to engage the local governments, we have established a network of green transition coordinators, so that each municipality appoints a coordinator and they interact with the central government regularly. Assistance in legislation, in finance, and so on. So we have also encouraged all our municipalities to elaborate their local climate and energy plans. And more than three-fourths of our three-quarters of our municipalities have done so, and including all major cities. And we see these local energy and climate and energy plans as essential in specifying the necessary actions at the local level to achieve our NDC. So most cities have a climate and energy plan, but the implementation varies. And the plans usually they include risk assessment, emission baseline, priority actions, and strongest progress is made in the cities where political leadership is supportive. So it's not necessarily always the biggest cities, also some smaller ones or suburban cities where the political support is there. And we have water management and flood prevention is where we have had most, let's say, progress in Estonian cities, especially coastal flood risk work, stormwater upgrades and resilience, and restoration of river restoration. And another topic which is expanding is urban green infrastructure, and more parks, tree planting, green corridors in the developments in the cities. And also a topic what is important for the cities and municipalities is renewable energy planning. I think this is where Estonia is a bit maybe behind, and there are social acceptance issues. So municipalities are preparing wind and solar energy plans, but they are now introducing local benefit schemes to reduce these conflicts with the local people. So what we have done from the national government to support local governments and the cities is that we have conducted a greenhouse gas inventory for each local government. We have used the same methodology, so everyone knows how much they produce, and it has been updated also in a few years so that the baseline is there. We have also conducted an analysis of the role of local governments in implementing green transition and achieving climate goals, and we have applied research document of recommendations for cities and rural municipalities how to implement climate actions and how to turn on a greener path for each activity of a municipality which is foreseen by the legislation. So they can see what for each activity, what should be the aim, what should you do, where you could start, what is like them. So it's a very easy way to follow. And we have also established the Environmental Education Competence Center for all target groups on related to climate issues, but there is also a special training plan for local governments. And yeah, we provide financial support for the elaboration of these local strategies and also for the implementation of local actions. But what we will do in the future is that now these climate and energy plans will become compulsory for all municipalities. They have to be updated regularly, especially in order to access the funding what the central government is providing for municipalities to implement the climate actions. And what maybe just a few words what climate actions municipalities have implemented the most. So For example, cities, they mostly test low-cost practical adaptation measures like cooler streets, sunshade structures, public drinking water points, small-scale stormwater reuse pilots. And there is a growing concern about the drought impacts on drinking water supply, especially in some of the smallest suburban towns. We have a serious issue in the summertime. And we see that cooperation and peer learning are essential. So cities share solutions also within the country via national programs, but also in the international setting, especially in the Baltic Sea region. And we have a strong expertise in water management and planning. And we also already support some peers abroad, but there is also a scope for further cooperation, also for us to learn from the others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jushkin. We can see this insight on multi-level governance from the perspective of the national government, very, very interesting, and the importance of coordination, encouragement of local leadership, providing tools for implementation, supporting peer learning. And that's very, very, very interesting to see that, of course, there is a diversity, as I mentioned, of leadership and implementation among cities. And interestingly, it's not only about size, but also about the political commitment, as you have highlighted. I think a topic that we will circle back in a few minutes. And it's now my pleasure to move to the second panel on the ground perspectives from local elected official and technical experts. And we have the pleasure of having with us a very, very rich lineup of speakers and protagonists of this field, starting with Edouard Hervé Mobimpa, Mayor of Douala 4. Mayor Mobimpa leads major initiatives on water access, health services, infrastructures, and resilience. We have Madame Anne-Marie Jean, Vice President of the Eurometropolis of Strasbourg, and she oversees employment, sustainability, economy, and ecological transition. We then have my friend, Madame Céline Papin, Deputy Mayor of International Relations and at the City of Bordeaux, where she works on city-to-city partnerships for urban sustainability, among other topics. Mr. Samir Unhale, State Joint Commissioner for Municipal Administration of the Government of Maharashtra in India. Thank you so much for joining us. 3 decades of experience across WASH, mobility, digital governance, and housing. We then have from the city of Oslo, Sture Portvik, who is the project manager of the municipality's electric vehicle initiative, overseeing infrastructure, promotion, and international project. And last but not least, Mr. Takaaki Ito, executive director of the Zero Carbon and Green for Export Promotion Bureau at the city of Yokohama. Mr. Ito leads decarbonization and circular economy initiatives through international cooperation. An amazing lineup of speakers, and many thanks to all of you for connecting with us. And I would like to start now with Mr. Mayor Edouard Hervé Mobimpa from Douala 4. So, Mayor, drawing on the practical work you are leading in Douala 4 in areas such as water access, health services, and infrastructure, how do you believe local governments can most effectively translate ambition into measurable progress in the post-COP30 context, especially in rapidly growing urban districts? You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hello for everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity on the day to address for the panel. I'm Professor Mobi, the mayor of Douala 4 City Council. It's a coastal city of more than 400,000 inhabitants, situated in Cameroon. We are fortunate to be surrounded by an important natural vegetation of mangrove, which plays so many important roles for the well-being in Douala 4 population. Unfortunately, due to a recent crisis in 2 regions in Cameroon, we had to witness a displacement of our compatriots in search of a better living. There's IDPs were mostly brought to build their shelters in the mangrove area, bringing a drastic reduction of our mangrove vegetation and increase in flood, temperature, same for food waste. We have to know that in Cameroon, in terms of regulation regarding climate action, till 2019, with a new law, cities are able to take initiative towards combating climate change. This aspect gives us more latitude to act properly and efficiently. Based on this fact, the city of Douala 4 was invited to take part in the local mayors forum in Rio, the general. And there we noticed that many cities have same difficulties of house as ours. Mostly a lack of finance to foster climate action projects that are important for our population. Our project bank is well furnished with bankable projects, and we are waiting for funds. Amongst, it's important to notice that we call it the Douala 4 Greenbelt project. It's a project we want to make a greenbelt towards Douala 4, and we presented that project in Rio. Combating climate change effects being a global objective, and Douala 4 is engaged in combating climate change and its local level with the support of our national government and the international community in order to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We will definitely begin with our little local budget. We begin our project in order to emulate the implication of more important budget and funding. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for your contribution. And now I would like to leave the floor to Ms. Anne-Marie Jean from the Eurometropolis of Strasbourg. Madame Jean, sorry. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
There is a little bit. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Madame Jean, based on Strasbourg's experience with low emission zones, sustainable logistics, and economic transition, how can local government best turn climate ambition into measurable progress after COP30, particularly when multi-level coordination is required?
Thank you for this opportunity to share Strasbourg's action for climate. Firstly, I would like to point out that all of the policies implemented by the City and Eurometropolis of Strasbourg align with the United Nations 2030 agenda. Using the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals framework, was an immediate commitment to an integrated management of public policies and governance of all territorial issues. Specifically, Strasbourg has territorialized the SDGs by implementing its voluntary local review. This review has been recognized as innovative due to the introduction of SDG number 18 for culture and its budget analysis. Indeed, the budget is the main governance tool for transformation. Presenting the budget allocated by SDGs allows us to demonstrate our commitment to each target and analyze any contradictions using two evaluation methodologies developed at the national level. One climate-related, the green budget. This has doubled since the 2021 year, with 27% of investment being climate-friendly. The second interpretation is a gender-sensitive assessment. By declaring a climate emergency in 2020, Strasbourg confirmed the need to accelerate its efforts to become a 100% renewable energy, carbon neutral and resilient region by 2050. Based on its climate plan, Strasbourg strives to implement concrete and innovative solutions that promote social and climate justice and meet the needs of residents and on a daily basis. 5 years on, what progress has been made? To turn our ambition into reality, Strasbourg has signed the Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy and reports on the dedicated CDP-ICLEI track platform. Progress has been recognized by the European Energy Award. It received gold level in 2024. Strasbourg also stands out in the circular economy and is the French first local authority to achieve this double level of certification. Now, a few key actions taken to decarbonize the territory. The latest available data shows a 43% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, bringing us closer to the 55% by 2030. As 1/3 of these emissions are linked to transport, we have chosen to spearhead a mobility revolution. €500 million have been invested to offer the right to mobility for all, representing an increase of nearly 20% in journeys of 5 years, thanks to a supply shock, free travel for young people and solidarity-based pricing. Second, protect health by improving air quality. This has led to a reduction of over 40% in concentration around the former motorway. Encourage cycling with nearly 100 kilometers of additional cycle paths. Introduce a Metropolitan Express service with an additional 700 trains per week arriving at or departing from Strasbourg station. And also all the measures taken in relation to freight transport. The Port of Strasbourg is France's second largest river port and is strongly committed to the ecological transition. Reducing energy consumption in buildings, whether public, residential or commercial, is also one of the top priorities. A policy of energy efficiency has reduced the local authorities' energy consumption by 14%, and the strategy is being rolled out across its 1,230 buildings. Nearly 20,000 homes have been renovated with the support of the Climate Agency. €1.3 billion are invested until 2030 in the Urban Renewal Programme. Public procurement is a powerful lever for decarbonization. Every year, Strasbourg awards around 2,500 public procurements. 94% of contracts include environmental criteria. The other pillar of the climate challenge is adapting to climate change. Strasbourg is focusing particularly on natural ecosystems while adopting an integrated biodiversity preservation policy. It is implementing its canopy plan, which has seen nearly 5,600 trees planted, representing a 15% increase in the number of trees outside forests. It is also demineralizing and greening public spaces by creating little spots of coolness in 70% of schools and nurseries. As part of what we call the Green Ordinance, 1 in 4 pregnant women in Strasbourg has benefited from a basket of organic, locally grown vegetables, and the One Health approach is now our working framework. The warming observed in Strasbourg is already more than 2 degrees. In response to this acceleration, Strasbourg is working to integrate the +4 degrees reference trajectory adopted at national level for 2100. Strasbourg, committed alongside all local stakeholders to responding to the climate challenge, is heavily involved in numerous European and international projects and web networks to contribute to global climate policy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jean. And now I'm a pleasure to leave the floor to Céline Papin from Bordeaux. Céline, reflecting on Bordeaux's climate and neighborhood transformation initiatives, what do you see as the most effective ways for local governments to convert ambition into measurable progress in the post-COP30 context while ensuring social inclusion?
Hello, everybody. I don't know if you can see my presentation. Does it work?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you very much. So I will try to present you in 5 minutes our policy, our climate action plan. So first of all, maybe just a few words about Bordeaux. Bordeaux, well, is located, as you can see, in the southwest of France. It's a UNESCO city, worldwide known, of course, for its wine, but it has also some relation with the climate, because the wine sector is obviously very much related to climate. It is a city, what more or less, I would say, 1 million inhabitants as for the urban area. And we have 2 levels of governance at the local level, the city and the metropolis. The metropolis has many important competencies in terms of climate action. What I would like to focus on is maybe to mention that we are a very vulnerable territory. Bordeaux is located in an estuary, so it means that there is quite an important risk of sea river floods, and it will increase with the rise of sea level. There is also an issue of heat waves, as the city of Bordeaux is a very mineral city. It is called the City of Stone because of its architecture of the 18th century. And so actually we already experienced those issues during especially the summer. And we have faced some very concrete consequences in the last years. For example, this summer we registered the highest temperature in August ever registered in Bordeaux. We suffer sometimes some floods, as you can see on the picture. And in 2022, we had a major fire forest in Les Landes, which is the biggest forest in Europe, and it was quite a huge forest fire that actually provoked some smokes still the city of Bordeaux. So that's a very concrete question here. And in 2020, like in Strasbourg, we declared the climate emergency because we are convinced that actually we are very determinant in this question of climate action. 50 to 70% of climate actions depends on local action. And the cost of an action, as you may know, of course, exceeds the cost of climate action. So our climate plan, like the others, integrates, of course, the climate mitigation and the climate adaptation. In terms of climate mitigation, we have really developed very strong actions in terms of energy efficiency, because first, of course, we must act on what depends directly on us. So obviously, the public buildings with a strong program of energy renovation, optimization of the lighting system, and of course, obviously, accelerating the energy transition with acceleration of renewable energy production, and also working with some partners, some private partners, by creating a semi-public company, because we really realized that we will not be able to do it by ourselves. So we created this company in 2020 in order to accelerate the investment. We have also very strong commitments in developing solar panels on our buildings. And another part of this climate mitigation program is obviously to work on urbanism and to work on a more resilient urbanism. So first, we decided to save the last wetlands and natural areas in the city of Bordeaux, because actually the urban area of Bordeaux is composed of 50% of natural areas. So we protected those areas, and we are developing an urbanism that is more focused on building the city on itself. The second pillar of climate action, of climate mitigation, is obviously developing public transport, and I would say decarbonized transport, decarbonized mobility. So I will not be long on that topic, because of course Strasbourg is also developing very many actions on that. But for example, you can see on this picture, we have created, for example, more than 50 children streets in order to change the habits of the citizens to go to school and to walk more for the short kilometers they have to walk. Then the second pillar, the climate adaptation. That is one very big effort that we've made since 2020, because we have a huge challenge of greening the city. As I said before, there is an issue of having a mineral city. So we have planted, I would say, 60,000 trees, created gardens, family gardens, public gardens. We are working also on food resilience, created also microforests. That's a major part of our climate action plan, and it has already really big results. And actually, what's interesting in this action is that also it is very clear and very seen by the citizens. And that's what I would like maybe to focus before ending my presentation. I would like to maybe to focus on several challenges. The first one is engaging all the stakeholders, the civil society, first of all, because the citizens, they must feel engaged by these political commitments. So we have tried to do it through citizen innovation, thanks to participatory budgets, for example, but also by facilitating their engagement in solarization on their own houses. Also engaging the universities, obviously. So we are engaged with the University of Bordeaux in a European project in order to find new methods to engage citizens, and also the private sector, obviously. And so to do that, we have, for example, created a Bordeaux Solar Alliance. So the idea is that all major actors of the territory are engaged in developing solar production energy. The second challenge I would like to focus on is acting globally, because we talk a lot about how we work on our own territory, but we must not forget that, of course, we have also a carbon print that is not only related to our own territory. And I think it's very important, especially nowadays, to keep a strong political commitment in international solidarity. In France, we have this solidarity funding mechanism that is called 1%, that enables dedicating until 1% of the energy taxes, for example, when we talk about energy, to energy access projects in developing countries. And Bordeaux Metropole is very engaged in that. We fund some projects, especially in Africa, of access to energy and access to renewable energy, and I think it's very important. And finally, not to be too long, I would like maybe to mention a few threats and opportunities. I would say, first of all, the budget cuts. Of course, we know that we have a wall of investments that is needed, and we see in different countries that there are some budget cuts due to budget situations, and we are quite worried at the local level about that. The second point is recentralization versus local innovation. We need to have a strong decentralization, because at the local level we can experiment, we can innovate, and we can also adapt solutions to local specificities. The third point is keeping the political compass when there is an ecology backlash, which is quite a big challenge in that moment. So it is important to keep this compass, to have this trajectory that goes on, and that there is no, I would say, way back when we invest on those issues. And the last one, how to go on engaging the citizens when there is this isolation, the movements that maybe more and more people are feeling that there is no need, or that's not a priority, and we must show also how it has a concrete impact on their everyday life, and also show them that we are all connected in the world, and that if we act and if we fund projects in Africa, in India, or in elsewhere, it's also a way to work together towards the same direction, to have I would say a livable planet. So that would be my conclusion.
Thank you very much, Celine. So many important elements for our reflection. And now it's my pleasure to leave the floor to Samir Unhale from the government of Maharashtra. Samir, considering Maharashtra's scale and the diversity of its municipalities, how can local governments most effectively translate climate ambition into measurable progress in the post-COP30 period, especially when capacities vary widely across cities? You have the floor. 5 minutes, please.
First of all, thank you very much, Lorenzo. And thank you and greetings to all the team of UNEP at Paris and all those who have joined online. So thanks a lot for this opportunity. I'm sure every simple actions that you and we would be taking will definitely stagger into a substantial change. And we will have to be hopeful for that our actions are meaningful and will create an impact. So first of all, I would like to reiterate that the efforts which are being taken here are inconsistent with the Sustainable Development Goals and the decarbonization efforts that have been globally accepted. India, as we know, is almost 1/6 of humanity. And therefore, the actions that will be taken here will have a greater applicability across various countries, because it primarily covers most of the agroclimatic zones of the world. And therefore, we are very hopeful that the actions that we are taking, we are learning from each other. The city diplomacy framework that we think will be of immense help to all the cities and towns. So the game is not one city doing one good thing once a while. So that's not what we are looking at. We are looking at an accelerated deployment of actions across the cities. Say like there are 400 cities in Maharashtra, 4,000 cities in India, and maybe 40,000 cities across the world. And therefore the challenge for us and an opportunity for us is essentially to ensure accelerated deployment of climate action, of appropriate projects, of that actions that we can take. Credible actions on the ground by the cities is what will be of immense help to the entire discussion of climate action at local level and the multi-level governance that after Belém that we were trying to focus on. As I said, India, we believe one world and one family. The old Sanskrit phrase is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that one world is one family. And therefore our actions are going to affect each other, and no person sitting anywhere is oblivious to the fact that we are so intricately linked to each other that our actions and inactions are going to influence all of us. A bit of Maharashtra, it is a biggest state economically in India. As we know, India has 1.4 billion, 1.45 billion population, almost 1/6 of humanity, and the absolute population of cities staying in 4,500 cities and towns of India will be more than 500 million. And therefore, the cities also give us a great challenge and also a great opportunity for our actions can be focused on these 40,000 odd cities and worlds of the town. We will be covering substantial humanity and also create tremendous impact and what we are looking at. So as I said, my focus is going to how to ensure credible climate action on ground in the 4,000 cities of India and maybe 40,000 cities of the world. What needs to be done at policy level, what needs to be done at institutional level, what needs to be done at citizen engagement level, which will ensure accelerated deployment of impact on ground. So in that case, I would like to share that the state of Maharashtra has already created a state climate action plan. and has been already approved by the competent authority, and thus the state action plan gives a broader framework which can be which is utilized by all the multiple government departments, directorates, and also various city governments, and thus provides an important guide rail. More than that, I would like to share that all the 44 important cities or the popular cities of Maharashtra have already set up a city climate action cell. Therefore, this could be one of the way if we have to ensure something at city level, as I keep on repeating, maybe to 40,000 cities of the world, we will require some institutional mechanism at the city level, maybe with the mayor, maybe with the city administrator, that will coordinate the actions for the climate related activities at city. And therefore, this climate action cell at city level, therefore, is providing a anchor and maybe seed to the efforts that should be going on in the city level. Currently, 9 cities of Maharashtra have already come up with the city level climate action plan. They engage with community participation is an important element entirely into this climate action plan, which is developed by the city climate action cells. Emphasis is given on the rooftop solar panels at city level, the electric buses, the infrastructure. We already have an electric vehicle policy which was made at the state level to emphasize the use of electric vehicles. The use of renewable energy is also encouraged at the city level by way of funding and also encouraging the citizens to install rooftop at their buildings. Further, the climate action plan is also working on the decarbonization roadmap, because India has agreed and committed that we will be net zero by 2070, but actions at cities will be much before that, and the actions that will lead to credible impact is something that what we need to share and learn from each other. People's participation, as I said, apart from the policies and institutions, citizen engagement, people's participation is a very important element for these actions of climate action, as we say, because we don't want it to be a top-down technocrat and managerial-led activity. The resonance with the citizens is extremely important of the actions that we'd like to take, and therefore, 2 citizen-level engagements and the programs are being done. One is called as the Life Mission, which is done by the Government of India and which is creating a mass movement of people for climate action. So it is environment related, it is reduction of wastage, it is SDG centric, it is climate action centric, and therefore this Life Mission sort of framework which is created at the national level can be replicated maybe at various countries level, and even UNEP can really think of whether it can give support and maybe also help the various countries to come up with this mass movement for environment and climate action. I think there will be a lot of overlaps between climate and decarbonization and environment and pollution control. Therefore, sometimes these multiple words tend to confuse a common citizen as to what exactly are they looking for. So therefore, maybe a UNEP can think of creating this or supporting such mass mobilization movements for climate actions and environment, which will, I believe, be of great help to various countries. And because it is trying to nudge the individual behaviors of individuals as well as the institutions and also cities on the theme of water, energy, wastage control, mobility, reduction of carbon, and use of renewable energy. So these kind of activities are something which are going to help. And apart from that, there's another state level mass mobilization movement also in consonance with the Life Vision, which is called as Maji Vasundhara or My Planet Earth, which is specifically meant for the cities in Maharashtra. So this is a mission which is specifically focused for the cities. These cities are encouraged to take actions on environment and climate related activities and we give incentive grants and also recognition by way of awards which are given to the city administrators and the city mayors. So this, and also to the non-governmental organizations. So what we feel, I mean, I could go on and on, but maybe I should value the time of all the people who are sitting in this session and also those who are online. And if this is shared on YouTube, maybe those people who will be looking at this beyond the current session needs to be benefited. So what we feel is that we require policies, we require institutions, and we require citizens' engagement or mass mobilization of people towards climate action, towards environmentally conscious actions, which will lead to achievement of sustainable development goals. And of course, at the climate action that we're looking at, and of course, finally, I will take this opportunity to share, that also was raised by our friend from Cameroon, that the commitment for funding and financing is very, very crucial. We have all the ideas, we have all the enthusiasm within the people, but the money, I believe, is need to come. And climate funding is not a charity. Let me take this opportunity to share that climate funding is not a charity. It is a collective action that we are taking. It need not be a debt, it need not be a dole, but it needs to come up along with technology transfer, because the current energy intensive and carbon intensive developmental mode which we are into, and if we want 80% of humanity, I think that's the population which is otherwise called as global south, which I may not agree with this terminology, but the 80% of humanity in a way requires to come up for the per capita energy utilization, which is maybe 1/10 or 1/12 of what the global standards are, the averages are. So what we are looking at is technology transfer. What we are looking at is climate funding, not as a charity, but as a collective, collaborative, actions that we will be taking. And because every action is going to be, related with each other. So thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you, UNEP, for giving this opportunity to interact. And maybe last word, last sentence, sorry for repeating it. We require accelerated deployment of climate action for all the 40,000 cities and towns of the world. And therefore, organizations with UN like UNEP or UN Habitat, with the help of, say, the agency, institutes like the City Diplomacy Lab, needs to come and give a roadmap and a guide rail for impactful actions on the ground by the cities. So thank you, Lorenzo. I hope I haven't exceeded my time, and thank you all of you for giving this patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samir. This is very, very interesting, both your vision and the actions that you have put in place. And of course, the message that you have shared with us. This will be shared, by the way, after the event. It would be, the recording would be made available with a wider audience, of course. Now moving to Oslo with Stuart Portvik. Stuart, during on Oslo experience accelerating electric mobility and urban decarbonization, how can local governments turn ambition into measurable near-term progress after COP30? And which types of local interventions tend to deliver fastest result? Stuart, you have the floor. 5 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Lorenzo, for inviting me. My name is Sture Portvik from the city of Oslo. It's the capital in Norway, 720,000 inhabitants. You can hear me loud and clear, I hope.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Good. Well, my job is actually a manager for electromobility in the city of Oslo. That means all kinds of transport, because what the city has done in Oslo is actually electrifying, making transport as zero emission as possible. Today, so far this year, 94.6% of all new cars sold in Oslo are actually battery electric. The same goes for the whole country, 96%. So more than 9 out of 10 new cars sold are actually battery electric, 100% clean. And also all the fuel is hydropower, so it's renewable and clean, of course. But that really makes my day pretty busy. because when I started in 2014, like 2% of the cars sold in the city were electric. There were some couple hundreds. Now they are everywhere, on every street, every corner. So it keeps us busy, and sometimes I feel I'm running a little bit after the train in the morning, and the train is leaving the platform earlier and earlier every day. So I really have to speed up to make sure that people can charge. So we are a small team, and of course, the policy behind this was very important. It was a broad political settlement way back in 2006, so that's a long time ago. They decided on a 10-point plan to actually cut CO2 emission. And one of the points was to promote EVs, to make sure that the EV drivers were okay. So we thought that seeing is believing, putting out chargers downtown Oslo where it was highly visible and helping them to actually charge, even those guys that doesn't have access to a private parking. So that was the start of a policy very early. I think it was the first city in Europe together with other frontrunners like Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So the focus was making it easier for common people to use an EV. Since then, a lot have happened. And today we are close to Christmas and we can see another big challenge. People are shopping more and more online. You want even your grocery delivered to your doorstep. Often they come with old vans, diesel van. It creates a lot of dirty transport everywhere, noise, traffic safety considerations and stuff like that, but of course pollution. So the focus now is more and more on commercial vehicles. Last year, it was mandatory that all the taxis, they are driving very long distance every day. All taxis in Oslo has to be zero emission. And they wasn't too happy with us when we told them that within 4 years, you will all drive zero-emission car, because it was typically a large Mercedes E-Class diesel car, and they created a lot of noise pollution running when they were just parking, waiting for passengers. So all taxis are now electric, and then you need charging. And the taxi industry, not all of them are too patient, so you have to make sure that they have accessibility to very rapid fast charging. So we have a vast network of chargers in the city, which is our responsibility. It's like 1,000 high-performance DC chargers that we do together with the private sector after public tenders. But we also have a vast network of curbside chargers. But of course, I hate to say this, but you need a holistic view. I love the EV, but of course, our aim is not to have more private cars in the street. So we also have made a huge car-free city center, we call it, inside the inner city, where we removed all private parking, also for the EVs. Of course, we want to promote the good sound alternatives like public transportation. People are using a lot of public transportation, and it's actually increasing. So that's a good thing, but you don't want the diesel bus. All the buses are, of course, zero emission, and the tram is zero emission, the metro, of course. And taxis, as mentioned, but also what is important now is that we also electrify all the ferries. They are battery electric, bringing millions of passengers from residential areas just outside the city, battery electric. And of course, you need onshore power. And you also, and that is quite important, you need zero-emission construction sites. So that's the new focus. Because when we started with transport, 61% of the CO2 emission produced in the city actually came from transport. So we had to start with transport. But now it's only 45% thanks to more EVs and also cleaner technology for combustion cars, to be honest, and lesser cars. The use of private cars has dropped with 20%. However, commercial vehicles is increasing, so that's the next big thing for us. Today, we are building up huge hubs for bigger trucks. Important, 54% of all new vans sold are zero emission at the moment. That's too little. We need close to 100% because it takes 4 to 5 years to switch out the fleet. And also bigger trucks. At the moment, I think it's close to 20% biogas, the one over 10 tons, and an additional 18% of electric. But we need really to step up also for the bigger trucks. And of course, excavators, zero emission sites, dump trucks, working on it. And yeah, it's really fun stuff, but it takes time to make everything green, of course. And all the building sites that the city is building itself now has to be zero emission. So that's another challenge. But I think sometimes you just need to do it. Not selling shoes, but it's important with action to actually do something. And what we see is that it's also quite good business case in the long run for a city. Because when we started, it was free parking with an EV, it was free passing in the toll roads in and out of the city, and it was free electricity. But free lunch is never a good idea. So from March 2019, we started with the small user payment for the EV drivers. It's not that much, and it's still cheap for the consumer, but it's enough to actually finance back the investment, and the same for fast charging. So it's fun times. The next things we are working on is some container ships going from one side of the fjord to another, 100% electric and autonomous. So you can sit and steer with a joystick on the shore. But it's quite fun, actually. We tried it. But I think in the future, okay, sky is the limit or trouble in paradise. Well, we see challenges. There are, of course, a problem that the policy in itself has been a success. So it has been quite expensive because you don't pay VAT, you don't pay purchasing tax when buying an electric car. The reason for that was, of course, they were far more expensive to produce. But in the long run, you need also revenues. You need income. So at the moment, it's not free electricity. You have to pay when you're passing in the toll roads. And you also have to pay for parking, but it's still far cheaper than an ICT, a combustion car. So I think that's a kind of trade-off. So you have to find the sweet spot. But I think
Sture, I just would like to ask if you can please come to your conclusions. Unfortunately, we are running out of time.
Yeah, no problem. Well, my conclusion is that we're on the way, but you need to also have some element of holistic approach, but also use a climate budget and also public procurement. Extremely important. Everything we buy, we have to have focus on the environment. So that's an important takeaway, I guess. So I think in the future, yes, let's electrify all types of transport. It's a business opportunity, not only a cost. It's important to stress. And you need organizations like C40 and various EU programs helping with exchange of ideas and good practices. So yeah, that's it from me. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sture. Very interesting best practices and vision coming from Oslo. And last but not least, we have now the pleasure of welcoming Takaaki Ito from the city of Yokohama, Japan. So Taka, based on Yokohama's decarbonization initiatives and its international cooperation work, how can local governments most effectively convert climate ambition into measurable progress in the post-COP30 context?
Thank you, Lorenzo, for this opportunity to participate in this important event. And good evening from Yokohama, which is one of the largest cities in Japan with a population of 3.8 million citizens. I'm working on promoting net zero initiatives as well as transition to a circular economy here in Yokohama. And let me begin with a short, quick introduction of Yokohama's initiatives on net zero. We have the GHG emission reduction targets of 50% by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2050. As of 2023, the emission is reduced by 25%. So we are somewhat on track to meet our goals. In addition to the GHG reduction within our city, we also devote our efforts to exchange climate policies with cities in Asia and the Pacific region, to learn from each other's experiences and accelerate our collective efforts. One of our flagship projects is holding the Asia Smart City Conference annually, which brings together over 1,600 participants from 50 cities and international organizations as a platform for cities to exchange knowledge and accelerate actions. Now, I'm very interested and inspired by various and concrete climate action presented here today. So I would like to focus not on what Yokohama does, but on how we do it, focusing on the role of cities to tackle climate change. So cities are the closest entities to companies in the city. We know who wants to do what and at what time. So we can connect various companies to build new projects on decarbonization and circular economy. This is especially important for the small and medium-sized enterprises. Let me share one example. In the Central Business District in Yokohama, we are currently working on turning the whole district to net zero area by 2030. In doing so, we had intensive discussions with major companies, respectively, of the district on how to turn this district into net zero by 2030. Meanwhile, we applied for the national government's designation of this district to receive national support. After the designation, now we are implementing various renewable and energy-saving projects with the companies, utilizing the support from the national government. And similarly, cities are the closest to citizens as well. And we can promote their behavioral changes in their lifestyle by implementing pioneering projects with citizens and disseminating good examples. Another example is the vending machines that provide unsold bread at train stations, which is delivered from local popular bakeries. The vending machines allow commuting people to purchase bread on their way home. In realizing this initiative, we consulted with bakeries, train stations, and the providers of specialized lockers. We also showcased these projects to citizens, and the result is that the bread in the lockers becomes sold out very quickly every time. So I think the key is to hold close and frequent communications and dialogues with companies and citizens to find breakthroughs. That's what the local governments can do. In Yokohama, our priority is not only on achieving net zero, but also the transition to a circular economy. This brought us to a joint request by Asian cities for a new initiative on promoting circular cities in Asia region. In response to this proposal, ICRE Japan has established Asia Circular Cities Declaration Initiative last week at Asia Smart City Conference. Yokohama is the first state to join and sign this declaration. My mayor, Yamanaka, has been elected as a board member of ICRE Global Executive Committee on Circular Development Portfolio. So together with ICRE and the Asian cities, we will contribute to the transition to circular cities globally. I'd like to mention one final initiative. So Yokohama will be hosting Green Expo in 2027 from March to September. It is an international exposition on the environment and demonstrates the future of cities on greenery and sustainability. We will present and share various solutions on net zero, circular, and nature-positive society. So you are more than welcome to for this Green Expo in Yokohama, and please save your date in 2027. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taka, for this inspiring contribution, and thank you so much for connecting. You know, it's evening in Japan. This is much appreciated. And many thanks to all the panelists. The wonderful ideas that they have shared with us will inspire us, of course, for the days, weeks, and months to come. I now would like to take a couple of questions, possibly one from online and one from in-person participant. For those online, they can use the Q&A section of the conversation. You have this tab that you can open by clicking on the Q&A icon on the top of your screen. And so while our online participants ask their question, maybe I can turn to the floor if there is any remark or question directed to a specific panelist or in general, and we can see if one or more of the panelists would like to reply. Sorry.
I just pointed out.
Please.
I think it was just to say that my name is Gulnara Roli. I'm head of the cities unit here at UNEP. Just would like to thank everybody for the presentations. I think it was very useful for us to see these very solid examples, and really was quite good to connect to these acceleration plans of COP30. So really, so I think this is where maybe my question is, what would be helpful for us, let's say at UNEP, to do so that we are able to connect your very clear national or subnational initiatives to this acceleration process of the COP, because there are of course global priorities as established, for instance, by COP30, and they were done through the 30 acceleration plans, where we as UNEP, for instance, leading the two ones, which is one is on buildings. Jonathan is here, he's the head of the buildings, or otherwise the acceleration plan on urban resilience that also actually our unit is coordinating. And of course, UN Habitat is here, who is leading the multi-level governance. We have also UN Habitat colleagues here who are leading the multi-level governance acceleration plan. So what we can do to connect better your very important work that you presented now with those acceleration plans, so that we make more visible your work, but also make sure that we give more content to those acceleration plans.
Thank you very much, Gulnara. And of course, I would like now to leave the floor to our city and local governments representative if they want to comment on that. And you can do so by raising the hand, virtual hand. You have the button for it at the top of your screen, and I will give you gladly the floor. I can see that Samir is the first to raise the hand. Please, Samir, go ahead.
So thank you. One of the issues, we always feel is that the city government is run by the middle level head of the departments, as we call them, or the mid-level city functionaries are the most important and crucial to make anything happen in city government. So if we create some system in which we can incorporate or invite the mid-level city functionaries like the city engineer or the doctor, medicine, or the city clerks or the mid-level functionaries, there currently is no system of getting their participation in any of the bigger international systems. So maybe if we could have, maybe UNEP and UN Habitat could come together and create a digital platform of getting mid-level city functionaries on that platform and connect with each other. We had tried this experiment in 2020 during COVID times, in which at that time, Madam Executive Director, UN Habitat in 2020 was probably working with UNOPS. And we had connected mid-level city functionaries of 15 cities during the height of COVID. And that resonance we felt because the a city doctor from maybe Mexico City could speak to someone from Delhi or maybe Johannesburg. So the getting the participation of mid-level city functionaries at the international forum, I think will help a lot. It will give them visibility. It will give them purpose, and also easy platform to connect with each other. I think that at least at a pilot project level, could be tried. If it clicks, it could be a good thing that could be tried. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samir. Any other panelists who would like to comment on that? Okay, so thank you so much. Sorry. Oh, yes, please. Sorry, I didn't see the notification. Wonderful. Yes. First, Celine, then Sture and Taka.
Well, I think we face two main issues that for which we need some some help, I would say. The first one would be about housing. I mean, all cities face a huge housing issue, and combining housing production and carbon print reduction is quite a complicated economic equation, I would say. So maybe by having a review on interesting models in different countries that have managed to work on those two issues could be useful in order to get inspired. And the second one, I would say that's one topic we should maybe work on at local level, but also in international networks and global organizations, is how to work more closer in a closer way, I would say, between urban policies and rural policies, because actually many often we see that there are, like webinaries or momentum when we gather between cities and the same between rural areas, but not all together. Although we have actually a very strong issue to consolidate cooperation between urban and rural, because actually all our challenges are linked. I would say, for example, in Bordeaux, we have created some contracts between the metropolis and rural areas in terms of energy production, in terms of preservation of natural areas. And I think we could maybe showcase those experiences that are trying to reconcile urban and rural areas with the focus on climate change.
Thank you very much, Celine. Sture.
I do agree with Samir that technical exchange on medium level between cities are often a very good idea to exchange ideas, electrical engineers, other discussing how can we find the right solutions. We have a long experience with that, and I think organizations like EIA or Cities 40s, Europol, Eurocities, police, good arenas to actually exchange ideas, not only on top level, but also on the level where people are working very concrete on different things. If it's a climate budget or whatever, it's important.
Thank you very much, Sture. Now, Taka.
Thank you very much. Just quick two proposals. First is we are very eager to receive the assessment and evaluation by the international organizations. If Yokohama is doing good, bad, or we should be doing more, or we are in a very advanced phase. So some kind of comparable analysis on the climate policies conducted by UNEP experts would be very helpful for us to know, to see where we stand at. Another one, we really respect the various reports by the UNEP, especially the emission gap report. This is just technically very difficult, but if you can analyze the impact of our climate action by cities to the temperature itself, that will be helpful, because that will allow us to explain to our citizens what are the impact of the city's climate actions. But it should be collective actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taka and Yunus.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Gulnara, I'm not sure whether it would be okay if I respond to you, because your question was directed to our colleagues at the local regional governments. And I'm first of all very happy to see so many members of ICLE, Oslo, and Yokohama, and others. I think one of the things we should keep in our mind is that the nationally determined contributions, there are now 100 plus presented, and we have seen from UNFCCC and UNHABITAT the analysis that their subnational engagement or urban component has increased. I think UNEP would really be helpful, because these NDCs are primarily prepared by ministers of environment, which is your members as UNEP. It would be very important for UNEP to go back to their members how important or what an opportunity the initiatives like cooling, housing, and waste, and all the others could then be presented to those ministers of environment, saying that let's not wait for 5 years, because let's remember the UNFCCC has a logic of the countries present their national policies, and 5 years later they start, or 3 years later they start stock taking. But we do not have the luxury to wait for 3 or more years. Every year we have to reach to this review and implementation. Here in ICLE we have developed the idea of the town hall COPs. It was implemented in more than 50 cities and regions around 6 continents. And this could be something that we can offer to UNEP, and then our cities, the cities or states like Maharashtra, Oslo, Yokohama, some of their members in their countries like Tokyo hosted this, or Malmö hosted this. We can build the bridge every year, and that we bring the ministers of environment to the local governments, to their ministers of urbanization, and report back in June in the UNFCCC technical meetings and back to COP, so that if we can demonstrate that NDC implementation with those who have already agreed to work with cities and regions, if we can help them to deliver it much faster, I think that would be a fantastic contribution from UNEP. And obviously we're all preparing for next week's UNIAD. This 2 years, every 2 years is the UNIAD 8 is coming, and that overlaps with the COP32. So maybe from Nairobi next week, we can think about a 2 years action plan, so that we work together and make sure that we see the action on the ground coordinated at the multi-level with the contributions of Minister of Environment as well. That was one of the challenges we had in Belém. You all remember the ministerial meeting was in the first week, and we had already signaled that it will not be easy to communicate to the ministers of environment. It was a bit lost or forgotten. So it's time, I think, for UNEP to build on its achievements and bring its power of reaching to the ministers of environment and ask them to, those who would like to work with us, those who have endorsed CHAMP, but you have seen India, COP33 host, very likely, they're also doing a lot. So UNEP can help us to bring this, build these bridges.
Thank you very much, Yunus. No. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Everything has been noted down. We will provide you all with a recap of this very exciting and rich conversation with so many insights coming from different geographies and actors. All of them, of course, all of you so much engaged and committed. All my expectations have been more than met. Of course, from this dialogue, we can see that there is a strong alignment about multi-level governance, which is not only an opportunity, but really the only viable pathway for implementation and have these outcomes that we all strive for. We can see that today we have a full commitment, not only from local actors and international organizations that have been partnering up for a few years now, but also national governments that, of course, have been represented here by Estonia and AFD. So it's very interesting to see how there is a full spectrum of governments at all levels that are very much aligned on this importance. The richness and variety of best practices, concrete implementation that are a result of a clear vision and political commitment from cities. Of course, this will be a central element in the written summary that we will share with all of you, and we will publish on the UNEP and City Diplomacy Lab websites. I want just to conclude by saying that UNEP and City Diplomacy Lab are, of course, committed to supporting the continuation of this dialogue. And today, as Mr. Lay said at the beginning, it's the first of a 6-part series of webinars. It will be our pleasure to continue to bring ideas and talents together in the pursuit of this ambitious multi-level climate action goal. Before closing, I really would like to thank Ms. Gulnara Roll and Ms. Mari Hartmann from UNEP for their invaluable and always kind and productive collaboration in planning this event. Thank you very much. I wish you all continued success in your exciting work and looking forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.